Hello and welcome to Stories That Shape Us. My name is Joanna Daniel. Yesterday, I started a series on abandonment, and today I'm talking about some of the things abandonment tell us. I want to focus on some of the misbeliefs and maybe not only talk about the misbeliefs, but how they show up in our lives, the things that it says, and how we believe those lies, integrate them into our lives, live them out, and some of the ways that it might be causing you problems in your life, but you don't know that this is an abandonment story. Those stories that we experience early in childhood and the impact that they cause. Remember, one of the signs of abandonment, one of the cause of abandonment is insecure attachment, right? And so when we're not connected to people, or when we will leave or grow through childhood with a sense that nobody wants to be with us and that we're not good enough. I know that there's a lot of freedom in healing that. There's a lot of freedom in understanding those stories and the ability to tell yourself something different. There's a lot of freedom in that. So I want to just share some of the lies that we tell ourselves, some of the misbeliefs from abandonment. So number one is, I'm not good enough. That's the story that we tell ourselves. And it's the story maybe that is not conscious to you right now because you've been telling yourself that story as a child. Not so much as a conscious story, but it's something that is deeply embedded. It's something that you believe at your core, that you're not good enough. And not good enough plays out in many different ways. It plays out in how you show up at work, the kind of jobs that you do, the things that you feel you can apply for, and the things that you feel you can't. Whether or not you believe that you can study, and whether or not you believe other people can study for certain things and you can't. Whether or not you believe certain things in life are available to you. It's sometimes rooted in that story of I'm not good enough. Because for the child that was left, that was abandoned, whether emotionally or physically, for the child that had an experience in abandonment that was so profound, so deep, that it tells them things about themselves, and we believe the stories that it tells. So deeply rooted is the sense that if I was enough, then these things would happen. And so you fill in the blank. What is it? What are the things that you're experiencing in your life that you felt if you were enough, you wouldn't? If you were like those people, you wouldn't have experienced them. And life is so much about perspective. If we understand that, there's some people that do certain things that we can't do. There's certain people that have things that we don't have, but that we have gifts, we have talents, we have everything that we need, and we're enough, just as we are. But when we have thoughts rooted, misbeliefs, lies that are rooted in we're not good enough, then we act it. And so anything that we have, anything positive about us, we dismiss it, brush it off. We don't focus on it. We don't allow it to fill us up. And we don't allow it to take space in our heart, in our mind, and in our lives. Because we're comparing it with what other people have. And when I say what other people have, I don't necessarily mean in physical things, but I mean in gifts and talents, in personality, in character qualities, in all of those things we're comparing. And so when we compare what we have, not really good. What they have though, that's really beautiful. And so we admire the others and we don't admire ourselves. And I think if we should pay attention to that, if we should allow ourselves to know the story that influenced those thoughts, and if we could fix the story around the story, if we could fix the narrative around the story, then it would free us to really settle in and fall in and love ourselves just where we are. And it's that makes us enough. When we can stop, when we can connect with ourselves, when we can face ourselves, when we can celebrate what we do and who we are, then we know that we're enough. And that's what gives the signal to the world that there is somebody that knows their worth and there is somebody that is okay with themselves. That's a signal. So it's not anything external to yourself. It's as you come into alignment with who you are, who God has created you to be, the gifts that He's given you, as you learn to value those gifts, celebrate others and value your gifts, then that's what makes you enough. And you can join any room, any party, anything, knowing that whatever space that you fit into that room, that's yours and you're enough. And then there is the thing, others are better than me, which is kind of connected to I'm not good enough. Because if I'm not good enough, then everybody's going to be better than me. Their jobs are better than mine. Their families are better than mine. Their car is better than mine. Their house is better. Everything is better. And when we don't feel like we're enough, then everything will be better. Everything for everybody else will be better than what we have. But nobody is better than you. Nobody. Everybody, we have red blood. Everybody, with eyes, with nose, people might have more money, a different kind of job, but everybody serves a purpose. You serve a purpose in the part of the world where you are, in the capacity that you serve. You're invaluable to your family and to your friends and to the people that are around you. But when we continually look in another direction, we miss those signals that others like our company, others want to be with us because we feel that others are better than me. Another thing that is rooted in abandonment, another lie is, it was my fault. Everything was my fault. They left because of me. If I was a better child, then my parents wouldn't break up. My father wouldn't have left. My mother wouldn't have abandoned me. My family wouldn't have hurt me. I would belong to the family. If I was different, so it must be my fault. And so you'll go through life blaming yourself for everything. You'll blame yourself for the way the project turned out at work, even though you put in 110%. And so what you will do, because you think things are your fault, you'll start to people please. You'll start to do things, fix, rescue, and put yourself in positions for the outcome to be, it was my fault. And so what I want you to understand is this, the subtle but effective way that misbeliefs work, though it might not be in your conscious mind. And some of these things that I'm sharing with you, you may not have thought about them, but you're living them. And that's where they're dangerous, because they're operating beneath the surface, and they're impacting how you act, how you show up, how you live your life, how you feel about yourself, and how you do life. And so it's really important to know them so you can fix them. It wasn't your fault. There's a lot of stuff that might be but there's a lot of stuff that wasn't your fault. And what I say to people is, let's put it all out and let us take what's ours and leave what's not. So there's a lot of things that wasn't your fault. The breakup of the family wasn't your fault. Your father leaving wasn't your fault. Your mom leaving you wasn't your fault. The abuse wasn't your fault. The fact that you don't feel like you belong in your family is not your fault. There might be things at play that you can't agree with, and so you can't stay. The group that you want to belong with that rejects you all the time is not your fault, because that might not be your people. Your people might be over here. So really look at it and look at what are the thoughts that you have about yourself, and how are they impacting how you see the world and how you show up in the world. And the final one I want to look at is, I must fix it. You mustn't. You don't have to. You don't have to fix anything, right? Some of the things it's not your responsibility to fix. Some of the things is somebody else's job. Let people do what is their job. You do what is yours. Okay? You don't have to fix people. You can't fix how they feel. They're responsible for how they feel, and they can fix it. Of course, if you do something that you need to apologize for, by all means do that. If somebody comes to you for forgiveness, give it freely, but you might not be able to fix what's broken in somebody else. Okay. The only person you can fix is yourself. You can only fix what's broken in you. You can't fix what's broken in anybody else. And you cannot people please enough for this to happen. You cannot rescue them enough for it to happen. You cannot take responsibility for their stuff enough for it to happen. You cannot fix anyone. Even as parents, there comes a time when we have to admit that, you see this, what's happening, I can't fix it. I need outside help. I need support to be able to fix this. At your work, you might need somebody else from a different department, or your boss or whoever, to fix it. In your marriage, you might need marriage therapy. There's so many things that is not your fault and you can't fix. But if you tell yourself it's your fault, it's because you're not good enough, it's you need to fix it, then you bear this load and this weight of responsibility that's not yours, that can be crippling. It can hamper your growth, in your successes in your work, in life, in relationships. And it's really important that you know. So this is just what, 4, There are many other ways that it might be showing up in your life. Allow yourself to sit with the feeling and be able to understand how abandonment is playing out in your life and the things that it's causing, so you can get the support that you need to heal the story around that so that you can be free. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Stories That Shape Us. I hope you'll join me on the next story.